Hello everybody. This is the second flight of 2023, mostly due to bad weather and the time I wasn't able to fly. It also marks the kind of 1 year anniversary of the first flight of my RV7, and I wanted to take you through the startup, the takeoff, landing and shutdown, mostly because I have a non-standard, a non-typical engine. Most people built the RV7 with a Lycoming, IO360 or IO320. I decided to use a ULPower 520 ISA as my engine, and I really like it. I'm still very fond of my engine. But since it's a little different, the startup is also different, and it's actually, you can see my panel is very simple. So there are not much switches. You could say only 6 switches. Light not included because light is on my center console. And I want to run you through how to start up the engine and what the specific choices I made during build for my panel. The ULPower engine is a full VDAC engine, so it doesn't have any mixture control or other strange stuff, and also my Airmaster propeller is also fully computer controlled. So basically I'm missing the red and blue lever in my engine, so I only have a throttle, which is actually also on the center console. That's the main reason why I built the center console, because I think it's more elegant that way. So I'll run you through the startup. First there is the master, obviously. So I switch on the master. And then there is the fuel pump. The fuel pump, I've got 2 fuel pumps. One is a backup. The first fuel pump number 1, that one is controlled by the ECU. So the ECU determines if it's running or not. If I switch on the ECU, it will run that fuel pump for 12 seconds to prime the engine, and then it will switch it off until you start. The second fuel pump is completely controlled by this knob, so if you switch it on, it will be running, and the ECU cannot do anything about it. I'm not sure if that's, you could say, standard, but I decided to do it that way so the ECU cannot take down my fuel pump. Although I doubt that if the ECU would do that something else is not also failing. So, but anyway. So I set the rotary switch to fuel pump 1. Actually, there are two levels, because there is an off level, and between the off and the 1 I also have a 1, just because if you would switch from 2 back to 1 and you would just turn it too much, it would still be in 1, a kind of a extra cause. Normally I run the first fuel pump during taxiing and all ground handling. I run the second fuel pump mostly in the air, and I run both fuel pumps during takeoff and landing, because when you're very close to the ground and one fails, there's probably not much time to switch. So that's why I run both of them. You should not run both of them all the time, because if you run them both for a very long time, it will in the end make one pump warmer, because the one pump is, they're not identical, so one will get cooled better, and then you will have run up with a very hot fuel pump. I switch on the ECU, which will, as you can hear now, run the fuel pump 1 for 12-15 seconds. I switch on the EMS, so I can check my oil pressure and oil temperature during startup. The almost last switch is the coils, so I switch them to both. I can switch to 1 and 2 during run up. I will do that later. And there's one more switch which I have to do after starting up the engine, and that's the avionics, which turns on the radio, transponder, and other stuff. So I'm ready to start the engine. So let's start the engine. Oil pressure is okay. Let's check CHTs. So now I switch on the other avionics. and I can switch on the radio. Okay. Switch on the radio. Switching on the transponder to standby.
Roger.
Oil temperature is still very low, of course.
Radio Papa Hotel Humor.
That's okay.
November. Uniform Lima November Turku, good afternoon. Papa Lima November.
So after startup, I just switch on the avionics, switch on the radio transponder, and that's it. Lights are on the center console, so I switch it to position and navigation, and I'm ready to go. You can see the startup is actually quite simple. You've just got 6 switches. You switch them, and that's it. Yeah, let's do the checklist. Engine a little bit lower RPM. Right. So I already did the pre-flight inspection earlier. Roller harnesses are okay. Fuel on 1. It's okay. All switches off, circuit breakers are in. So I only have 3 circuit breakers, 3 main circuit breakers, which are for both the fuel pumps and the ECU, because they are essential for this engine. If you don't have a fuel pump or you don't have an ECU, you don't have a running engine. So those are very essential. So if something happens, I can re-trigger them, and the circuit breaker I can re-trigger them, and yeah, hope that way that it's that the problem. I still have power. All the other circuit breakers or fuses are down there. They're not, let's say, they're not essential for flying. Let's put it that way. Okay, master is switched on, fuel pump is dead, ECU is on, EMS is on, ignition coils are on both, yeah. Propeller, yeah, is on green climb. Throttle set to 1.8, well actually it's 1000 RPM, that's okay. Start engine, yep, oil pressure is still okay, oil temperature is still very low. Outside air temperature is 3 degrees, so it's quite cold day. Okay, after the engine start, throttle 1000, yeah, I've done that. Master. Voltage current 2.6 amps. Charging the battery. That's okay. That's good. Avionics and radio on. Transponder standby. Flaps up. I normally put the flaps down in my hangar, so easier get into the plane. Of course, now I have to put them up during taxiing. Elevator trim set to neutral. Yeah, set to neutral. Carbon. Cabin heat, that's okay. I don't need too much fresh air, I think, because it's quite cold. Altimeter EVIS, yeah, that's okay.
Final.
Set to field elevation. So I set the altimeter to field elevation, which is 20. My backup. Yes, right. Done that. Okay, let's see which runway is in use.
Papa Hotel Victor Charlie, down. Yeah, I was calling you. Are you giving in a full stop? Roep je de Papa Hotel Victor Charlie op? Ja, Victor Hotel Charlie, maak je een full stop? Nee, we wouden eigenlijk deze weer terug richting Hilversum. Oké, dat klopt het. Dan gaat de rest ook weg.
I see actually the 2.6 is in use, but I'll call...
Nou, ze wachten op ons aan. Check. Ja, nee, sorry, daar hebben we even geen tijd voor, want we moeten ons melden daar zo op het veld. Voor de padmotor. Ja, ze gaan nu ook rennen. Dat dacht ik al.
Tegen radio, Papa Hotel Mike November X-ray, goedemiddag.
Papa X-ray, go.
RV7, 1 PB, captain's name is Heijmans, 1 hour local flight, request aerodrome information.
Roger, we have runway 26, left hand circuit.
26, left hand, Papa November X-ray. Okay, so you have 26.
Papa November X-ray missed the pilot's name, Heijmans.
Yes, Heijmans.
Goedemiddag.
Dankjewel, jou, goedemiddag. Okay, so it's really close to my hangar. So not much time to heat up the engine, I guess. I will do, let's say, a slow run-up. Because the run-up is actually very fast, because you miss all kind of controls, because they are automatically controlled by the ULPower TU. So actually, I only need to check the coils if those are okay, and I could check the propeller. So let's do that just for the sake of argument. Mostly the governor, which is electric. Okay. Right. Let's take checklist for the cabin be secure. Flight controls, I also checked them during taxiing, but they are free and correct. Flight instruments are set, altitude. Yes. Okay. Nice. Okay. I keep my fuel valves on the left tank because, as you know, my return line is only on the left, so if I put it right, I would overflood my left tank, so I'm not going to do that. I set my fuel pump to 2, check if it works. I set the brakes, and I put the throttle to a little, I'm not going to do 1700, because I think the engine is still too cold for that. Let's do 1500, a little bit more. So I check 1. There's hardly anything, I think it's maybe 10 rounds per minute slower. The other one also. So, pitching between the coils is very minimal, that's nice. I can put my controller to manual for the propeller, and I can put them coarser and finer. Let's see if it works. Yeah, you hear can hear the RPM. So my governor works. Put it back to automatic. That's nice. Back to idle. And back to 1000 RPM. That's the whole check. So as you can see, it's very quick, very easy. Fuel pump to both, I do that a little bit later. Flaps to takeoff position, it's no flap weather, actually there's hardly any wind at all. Very simple. Power briefing complete.
Delta Golf 5 Delta, end of downwind for runway 26, touch and go. Golf Brown Delta, roger.
People next to me are still working, so I'm going to okay. There's something about the test and go, so let's see on base or final if I can see someone. I don't see anything on base or final. Okay. I put transponder on to, I switch to both pumps, just to be sure. Up and NVAV X-ray, lining up 26.
Left hand circuit.
Okay. Yes.
26, left hand circuit.
26, left hand, up NVAV X-ray. Let's go. Okay, so that was a takeoff. As you can see, it's very fast. You only need half of the runway. So I switched the governor to cruise, which will lower the top RPM to 2600. And I go back to about 22 inches of manifold pressure. I switch them also back to fuel pump 2 because we're now high enough to, you know, do some error checking. And you only need both pumps for, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes. That's it, max. It's a beautiful day. Almost no clouds. This is very far away, there are clouds. Okay, we're at 5,300, so let's do a steep turn over left. Thing is clear. Nice. Oscar is lining up. Oscar. Okay. Papa Hotel, Victor Hotel Charlie leaving de circuit. Willen jullie de factuur naar de PH sturen? I think there's a balloon in the distance. Ja, not sure. Had je toevallig opgeschreven? Not very high, I see. Ik ben het zelf kwijt. Kijk even. Yes, zeker. So let's do the same over the right. Dan betalen we er 6. Okay, so I switch back to both fuel pumps. What I said earlier, right, I don't want to have any issues with the fuel pumps. Let's do the strobe lights on so they can see me. Another foot, heat on crosswind, I see. So I probably have to do a little. Where did he went? Oh, there it is. Okay, nobody on downwind. Nice. Papa November X-ray, joining downwind, 26, full stop. That's it. I really have to take a break. It's even hard to get into flap speed range. Okay. flaps. Okay. X-ray to the final 26, full stop. Yeah.
Telephone landing and force of Patrios. Takeoff 7, good afternoon, Roger. We have runway 26 left hand circuit.
26 is copied.
Request PUB for Takeoff 7.
3.
Roger.
Papa Delta Fox, line up 26 behind landing.
That Fox.
Papa November X-ray, runway indicated. Now I switch back to fuel pump 1, with the flaps up, transponder to standby. Right. I set it back to 1 because if I switch off the engine, then it will immediately, because the ECU controls 1, I will immediately also stop the engine, stop the fuel pump, so that's good. Okay. Flaps are up. Under. Since the cowl is very high.
You want touch and go?
Touch and go. Back to over. The cowl is very high of this RV7 because the engine is extended because it was a.
Now into 6 full stop.
Because it has a polar weight, so I had to extend the engine. So the cowl is very high, so I have to sometimes look a little bit next to my cowl. Nothing is in front of me, which is the case right now. Pitch to 1, okay. Put my strobe back off. Good. Normally I would open the canopy, but because it's quite cold, I'm not going to do that. Nothing in front of me.
Papa, turning final for stop.
So last thing we're going to do is the switch shutdown, switch off. We don't need any requests. clearances for that, this field. Not set it too close to the... Okay, we set it to 1000 RPM. Let's take the checklist with it. Just sure. So throttle back to 1000. Already did that. Lights off. Okay.
Radio, goedenavond. Delta Echo Whiskey Alpha Quebec. Delta Echo Whiskey Alpha Quebec. We have runway 26. Delta Echo Whiskey Alpha Quebec. Runway 26
Okay.
with a VF after.
Flaps down.
Teugen, goedemiddag. De Papa Tango of Victor.
Transponder radio off. I will keep the radio on so you can still hear me. Avionics off. Okay, now my radio will also go off. So sorry for that.
I switch off the AMS and I switch off the ECU, which will kill the engine. And because pump number 1 is connected to the ECU, it will also switch off my my fuel pump. So I can now put the fuel pumps off, the coils off, and the master off, and then I'm good to go. Nice. Well, that's it. So it's very simple actually. It's not much more difficult than let's say an ordinary car, and that's mainly because we've got a ULPower in there, which is well fully FADEC controlled. So it's quite simple. Okay, continuing flying my pie in the sky.